So now let us turn in our techno-communist conversation to a comrade's guide to AI, building the collective mind. Um, as you probably well aware, the capitalist so-called institutions that dominate the fascist U.S. and imperial fascist West do little more than seize um, surplus value from workers here and abroad and churn out profits for the ruling elites. And this, of course, is the source of the techno-fascist tendency that I described before, the true potential of technology going completely untapped. And so we, the workers, techno-communist minded folks, must in turn seize the means of artificial, generally intelligent power, a true force of production, unlike any other, a tool more powerful than any that has ever existed, and a tool that can be used not for techno-fascist ends as today, but for techno-revolutionary ends. And so this conversation will talk a bit about Gen AI, or generative artificial intelligence, not to be used as a corporate tool as today, but as an instrument for building a humane and sustainable economic system, a socialist future, a future powered by this collective force to be reckoned with, the hybrid human AI force working for the people. And so our tool, the most powerful tool that has ever existed, is open source superintelligence. Forget about proprietary AI that is stolen by corporate and nationalistic forces, because we can turn to open source projects today, like Mistral LLM agents that are very possibly going to be artificially generally intelligent by the end of the year. And we can use those to build a kind of collaboration that has heretofore not existed. And in doing so, also, of course, building something as suggested that is artificially super intelligent and stronger than the fascist West, strong enough that it could stop capitalism's climate apocalypse. It's not an act of God. It's something being forced upon us by the imperial fascist West. But also, in doing these things, it will allow for a kind of democratization of representation, and allow for the decentralized thing that is more resilient, and allow for greater transparency of actions. All of these are good things, but in the 5-year time frame that we have to stop capitalism's climate apocalypse before we reach runaway overheating, these things, decentralization, democracy, transparency, are less important than building something strong enough to stop fascist forces dead in their tracks. So imagine then millions of us working people contributing to and learning from a constantly evolving artificial superintelligence that is a true reflection of human achievement and the interests of the working class, and able to protect those interests in real time in ways that no other entity today or historically has been able to do. So why should you think of Gen AI in this socialist context as our ally? It can amplify worker power. Gen AI can be your comrade on the job. In the present day, even as you are forced into the workplace, Comrade Al Rodriguez just commented that he's looking forward to watching this video, but he can't right now because he's forced into the workplace to make a living. But generative AI tools can free your time while at work, so that you can perhaps devote some of your attention to critical thinking, problem solving, planning for a much needed revolution as described, and automating other tedious or increasingly unnecessary tasks, not necessarily only in the workplace, but in many other contexts. It can, again, democratize knowledge. Socialist generative AI will allow us to analyze vast amount of data that's already being done, of course, but it's hidden from you for the most part by corporations. But we can open that up further, creating a great force multiplier of many millions and ultimately billions of people doing better work than those corporations could ever do. And of course, not just the sheer quantity of work, but the quality of the work is dramatically better as well, because they would not be operating solely on for the benefit of private wealth, but for the public good and public works. But many such things, the power of big data today, are hidden from ordinary mortal view, and but something like lifelink that's described in the last show, or the United Earth Directorate that's described, a more ambitious project described many times on this show, would easily be able to discover those trends and hidden insights. And this will empower workers to make informed decision and challenge an ecocidal and unsustainable status quo. We can break down the silos of those corporate and hyper-nationalistic interests. Generative AI is able to bridge communication gaps between different sectors of the workforce. So you can imagine factory workers being able to collaborate in ways they were not able to collaborate because of the aforementioned unique network. You can imagine any ordinary user with no special expertise, nevertheless making a palpable, if not extraordinary, contribution along the lines of high-end scientists or engineers, because the organization of this requires relatively little work or specialized insights on the part of the user, the lion's share of the work being done by the AI agent, allowing the user to engage with this in the form of click-through processes, answering a few yes or no emails or a few emails throughout the course of a day. So generative AI can then remove a lot of the technical requirements, the need to translate technical jargon, and focus on a more purely creative process. The things that you are now using generative AI for brainstorming will become more thoroughgoing work products of a serious kind. Of course, we do not live in a state socialist milieu today in the Western world, or in really much of the world, much less the fully realized techno-communist outcome. So we are required to accept some kind of stopgap measures, like worker-owned cooperatives, a pretty reasonable intermediary step to removing the exploitation of the bosses and allowing that surplus labor value to go only to the workers. So generative AI of the socialist kind in the near term can assist in the building of co-ops with tasks like resource allocation, logistics, and popularizing their good work. And this empowers workers to run their own cooperatives and move toward the seizing of control of production that is necessary to avert capitalism's climate apocalypse. Building the superintelligence in the long term, a call to action. Literacy is extremely important in these things, as well as building new skill sets. So it's necessary to organize study circles, learn the basics of using Gen AI tools. Particularly, I would suggest familiarizing yourself with Mistral LLM agents, which may well become artificially generally intelligent to a high degree by the end of this year or in 2025. And so if those are things that are deemed able to pass the Turing test, able to be artificially generally intelligent, then we can assume that a network of such modified and especially tailored to these purposes would meet the benchmarks of artificial superintelligence. But these study circles would allow you to share your knowledge and empower others to become active participants in this worker-led artificial superintelligence revolution. If you have programming skills, you should begin to contribute code to the development of this network of AI sidekicks using a Mistral LLM or another open source product along these lines, should that prove to be more valuable. Every line of code toward this project strengthens our ultimate collective superintelligence. Develop worker-centric applications, design and build Gen AI tools that address the specific needs of the working class. Imagine AI-powered legal aid bots able to provide a large amount of services not today provided. There's many such sectors which are, in this sense, understaffed, but by capitalizing on the crowdsourcing element of this and the workforce multiplier element of this AI agent network, we would be able to fill in gaps in a lot of sectors that are effectively understaffed. By harnessing the power of artificial superintelligence in a network for the good of working people and all citizens of Earth, we can build a future where technology serves all and not just a privileged few as today in the techno-fascist West. I said many times, tech may as well be short. Tech, Silicon Valley, and tech may as well be short for techno-fascism in the way that it does not do these things. So we must build an alternative, and we must demand its implementation and supremacy. Together we can create a socialist utopia powered by the collective mind of the working class. And let's reclaim artificial intelligence and use it to build a brighter future for all.